Riverview Golf Course, located on the beautiful Oconee River, is open to the public 7 days a week from 7 till 7, and you can play all day for just $25. Riverview Golf Course opened in the spring of 1977 and has been enjoyed by thousands since. Come on out to Riverview Golf Course today off Highway 19 at Riverview Drive, just 2 miles off I-16, exit 54. Riverview Golf Course in Dublin, making memories every day.
I'm Eric Shepard, and I want to be your next school board member for District 2. My decision to run for school board for Lawrence County was simple for me. I have a vested interest in the schools of Lawrence County. I'm running to be your school board member in District 2 because I want to serve every child in every school of Lawrence County. I have 2 kids, both are in school in the Lawrence County school system. My wife is a 4th grade math teacher at Northwest Lawrence Elementary. I'm a volunteer coach for Dudley Little League. I also serve as a life group leader in the student ministry at Dudley Baptist Church. I love children, and I want to serve you as the District 2 school board member for Lawrence County. I want to make our schools the best in the state of Georgia. I am a product of the Lawrence County schools, and I want to serve you as the next school board member in District 2. I'm Eric Shepard. I want you to please go out to the polls and vote for me as the next school board member in District 2. I'm Eric Shepard, and I approve this message.
Welcome everybody. I'm glad to have with me today Matt Haywood, and he is an expert, well really his wife is, an expert on homeschool. And Matt is also my pastor at Bethlehem Baptist Church, and they homeschool their children. They have 7 children, and Jessie, his wife, is really the guru at homeschooling. But I want to get with Matt today and talk with him about some tips on homeschooling, because many of you are home now, and I've heard it all over town. You say, I'm struggling. What do I do? All of a sudden, I'm thrust into this role that I really don't know what to do. So first of all, Matt and I are social distancing, so I just want you to know you'll see us on different shots. And I measured it this morning. We're actually 20 feet away, so it's a little hollow in this room. You may hear a little bit of that, but anyway, the point is we want to give you some homeschooling tips. So grab a sheet of paper, a pencil, while I introduce Matt, and then we're going to get into some of these homeschooling tips. First of all, Matt, welcome this morning.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And was I wrong about Jessie being the guru?
No, she's the expert. She definitely is the one that lives it, breathes it day in and day out. And so she was joking with me when I told her I was going to be with you today. And she said, so what are you going to share with them about homeschooling tips? So,
well, maybe she helped you a little bit. And if we talk over each other just a little bit, we're going to try not to do that like you see on all the national newscasts. But it is kind of a little different when we are sitting quite a bit apart and we're looking at these cameras like this. But we're going to try to work through this system. But listen, y'all, you've heard me say it the past week. We've got 2 problems in the country right now. We've got the virus. None of us watching right now, Matt and I, none of us have the answers. We're not scientists, we're not doctors. The other problem is panic. We can do something about that. So we're trying to be that calm voice during all this panic. So that's why I want to bring you shows like this. Matt, first of all, on homeschooling, y'all have homeschooled the kids ever since they started the school. And tell me a little bit about your, not the criteria yet and the tips, but what do y'all do on a daily basis as far as time-wise and getting up, and when do you start school, how many hours a day, that kind of thing?
Well, homeschoolers are required to actually do 5 hours a day by the state. And so I know there's a lot of people that maybe think you get up late, you just kind of do a few minutes, few hours of school, and then you're done. But you actually are required by the state for homeschoolers to do 5 hours a day. But we get up, and the first thing we do is we pray. We ask God to help us get through the day. We ask God to just help us to remember things, to glorify Him with our mind. And so we begin our day with prayer. We get everybody together in the living room there, and we pray. You know, we don't try to mimic the school schedule. So that's one thing I would just encourage you to embrace with homeschooling, is that that you don't have to get them up at 7:30. You're not waiting for the bus. You're not having to go to the cafeteria first thing in the morning, so you can let your kids sleep in a little bit and get them up and let them get their minds woken up. I know my kids learned how to make me coffee because I'm like a walking zombie when I first wake up in the morning. And so just like you and I have to kind of wake up, our minds have to wake up, I think the kids need to do that as well, and they need to kind of have a moment to get up and get going. And then, begin your day with prayer and just kind of getting everybody together. You may want to take a minute and kind of lay out what your plan is for the day, what the schedule looks like, so they kind of know what to expect. But be flexible with that as well, and just let them kind of get up and get going. And I would also encourage you to limit screen time. I know when I was a kid, a lot of times we'd wake up on Saturday mornings and we'd have cartoons going and we'd watch TV, but we try to really limit the amount of media that they're consuming before they get going with school, because we just have found that it tends to alter the rest of the day, and a lot of times not in a good way when they've watched TV or they've been on tablet or phone or something like that. And so we just encourage them to get up, have their personal time, and we pray together, and then we get going with the day.
Well, as far as the media, limiting that's a good idea. Wouldn't you agree, year-round all the time? Because TV, and we're glad you're watching us on television, but TV can be a babysitter or a crutch, but don't you think that that's a good idea year-round?
I do, and TV media is a wonderful thing. I'm a visual learner, so if I want to learn how to do something, I'll go pull up a YouTube video and I'll learn. And there's so many resources out there that digitally allow us to do that. The reason that so many parents are able to homeschool right now during this time where we're in social isolation is because of media. So media is a good thing. I'm not anti-media at all, but it does tend to alter your brain. I think there was a study that was done out not too long ago on whether or not ebooks, whether you retained as much information from an ebook as you did from a physical book. And they found that you read more using electronic books, but you actually retain more information from a physical book. And so it just tends to alter our mind a lot, and we get excited and we get those neurons firing, and it just sometimes can be in a negative way. So it's really good to limit that before you're going to study. And it's kind of like giving a kid a piece of chocolate and then telling them to go get in the bed and go to sleep. And it just doesn't work out good when you do that.
Counterproductive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, and before we get into the rest of these tips, if you're tracking, if you're taking notes, prayer was the first one. But before we get into the next one, Matt, y'all don't just, you and Jesse don't just get together and say, we're going to homeschool our kids and here's what we're going to do. You actually, I know you go to a couple conventions a year, y'all stay up to date with other homeschoolers, and you actually have a curriculum that you use, right? We
do. We actually blend a couple of different ones. We use Abeka, which is what some of the school system, I know Trinity uses Abeka, a lot of the preschools use Abeka. We use that for part of ours, and we use another one called My Father's World. I know there are some in town that use another one called Classical Conversation. So there's a lot of different curriculums that are out there that you can use. Okay, first tip, this is one of my favorite that we'll talk about during this show. But Matt, you say relax and what? Relax and don't panic. I think that so many parents are afraid they're going to mess their kids up. They're afraid that on their watch their kids are going to get behind, and so they're panicking because they don't feel like they are good teachers. And the truth of the matter is, as a parent, you are one of the greatest teachers your child is learning from. They're learning from you every single day, whether you realize it or not. And a lot of what they pick up on, they pick up on through watching you. But don't panic. We were so scared when we first started homeschooling our daughter. We had her in preschool, and we had her even enrolled in kindergarten, and we had been just trying to decide whether or not we wanted to homeschool or not. And we felt like this is the route we wanted to go. And when we pulled her out, I remember I was in tears because I was so afraid that we were going to do something wrong, that our kid was going to get behind. And I would just tell you, don't panic right now, because everybody is in this together right now. And you know, the teachers, they're aware that you're studying from home right now. So when your kid goes back to school next year, if they don't go back this year at all, which that's looking like that could potentially be the case, next year teachers are very much aware that you're going to be needing to review things. And one of the things that we learned as we were looking at all of these different curriculums is that so many of them have what's called a spiral approach, where you introduce a topic, a particular subject, and you come back to that throughout the year, but year to year, you even come back to these things. And so you will be introduced to, you know, if it's language, it may be nouns and verbs and pronouns. And then the next year, you're going to cover those things again and build on those. And so you're not going to ruin your kid this one year that you're homeschooling them. And you probably know more than you realize. And as you start teaching your kids and looking at these worksheets, you're going to realize that a lot of that's going to come back to you from when you were in school.
And you know, Matt, I was looking online. There's a lot of free resources out there, aren't there?
There are so many free resources right now. You know, and I would say be careful with that as well, because I think sometimes as a parent, you know, your kid goes to school from 8 to 3 in the afternoon. And, you know, when you think about how their day is broken down, a lot of their time is spent transitioning, and you know, you've got so much time for lunch and you've got so much time for recess and transitioning from one class to the next. And so, you know, there's a lot of extra time that's built into the day, and the day is also sort of structured that way to help parents that are working. But if you really were to just kind of group the subjects down, you don't necessarily have to have, you know, a full 8 to 3 day. But I know that especially if you've got younger kids, a lot of the work that you might get sent home by your teacher can be accomplished, and you can have this feeling like, well, you know, normally my kid's at school from 8 to 3, I need to go fill that time. And so, you know, don't overburden your kid by going and getting things online to fill up a time period that you feel like they need to be, you know, studying. But if your kid is wanting to learn, they're interested in things, you know, don't hesitate to go and look online. I know ABC Mouse has some free resources right now. There's one called Teacher Monster to Read. There's just so many out there. You can do a Google search and you can find a ton of free resources out there. And one that people often overlook is YouTube. If you've got a kid, you know, especially right now, while maybe you don't have as much curriculum that you have to work through that the teacher has sent home, ask your kid what things they're interested in. So if you got a kid that's interested in dinosaurs, then you can go pull up YouTube videos on dinosaurs. If you have a Kindle Unlimited plan, you can go download books through that. The library even has a free app that links to your library card called RB Digital, where you can get audiobooks and digital books through that. So there's just so many resources out there available to you right now that you can utilize and find things to do with your kids.
And don't forget, don't get stressed out. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back. We got more tips on homeschooling. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.
From humble beginnings with a desire to serve the Dudley community, Bank of Dudley has grown to 5 locations, serving Lawrence, Twiggs, and surrounding counties. Serving our community since 1905, the Bank of Dudley is looking forward to its 2nd century of community banking. Drop in today to any of our 5 locations: Jeffersonville, Dudley, East Dublin, Veterans Boulevard, and downtown Dublin. Bank of Dudley, member FDIC, and an equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Larry Dean, Sheriff of Lawrence County. 4 years ago, we didn't have a crime suppression unit and we didn't have a K-9 unit. I'm proud to tell you today that we do have a K-9 unit and a crime suppression unit. Our crime suppression unit and our K-9 unit work hand in hand to eradicate drugs from the streets and roads of Lawrence County. We take drug dealers off the street every single week. Promises made, promises kept. I'm Larry Dean, and I approve this message.
Imagine a life-changing injury. Imagine the fear and unknown. The Houston Clinic Sports Medicine Team, the only physicians in the area with advanced certification in orthopedic sports medicine, treats sports injuries with innovative techniques. The Houston Clinic has helped nearly 1 million athletes live without pain. Imagine getting back in the game. Imagine the best game of your life. The Houston Clinic Sports Medicine Team.
Hurry home, boys. We gotta go. Oh, we're racing. Let's see what you got, boys. Not today, boys. Hey, I got your text. What's the emergency?
What text? Where is my phone? Oh, I think River wanted to play.
Welcome back, everybody. Continuing my conversation at a distance with Matt Haywood, and we're talking about homeschooling and trying to give you some homeschooling tips. Matt, one thing, we're not used to this. We're just, as parents and grandparents, we're not used to homeschooling like you and Jesse, and a lot of people in our community are, but and you can get wore out quick. What kind of tip could you give us for parents that are sitting there and saying, oh, I get stressed out, I can't do this but about an hour at a time? What would you say to them?
Well, I would say only doing an hour at a time. You know, don't wear yourself out. You know your limits, and it's okay to take a break. It's okay to shift gears and do something else for a little bit and come back. But you know, I remember growing up, I wasn't a big wrestling fan, but occasionally the wrestling show would come on, or as kids we'd play wrestling. You know, you see that movie scene where the person they're just getting beat up, they're getting pummeled, and they're just crawling and inching their way to the corner of the ring, and they just reach out in desperation and they tag their partner out, and then their partner, who's got fresh arms, fresh legs, just comes in like a whirlwind and is able to help continue the wrestling match. And I think that's how homeschool can be a lot of times. You know, especially if you're the parent that's staying home and you've got another parent that's out working. You have to remember that you've been around the kids all the time, they haven't, and that other spouse needs to remember that even though they may have been working, that they haven't been around the kids all day. And it's important for both parents to be involved and to tag out and tag team this together, because it really helps when you have both parents involved in the education of your kids.
You know, I'm in schools every week, and I see, especially in kindergarten classes, it's hard to keep their attention on one thing. And then, say you have a kindergartner, and you have this, Matt, you and Jesse, because y'all have a wide age group there, your children, but you got kindergartners, and then middle schoolers, their bodies are changing, their minds, their brains are changing. So how do you kind of gel all that together?
Well, I know that we thought we were failing as parents, and particularly homeschooling, because we would teach our kids something and they would seem to grasp it, and then all of a sudden there would be these days where they couldn't remember anything we had taught them. And it just seemed like, you know, why are you not focusing? Why are you not paying attention? And I was doing some digging on this, and I learned this by accident a little bit, but you know, kids are going through a major mental development in kindergarten and in middle school. And so you can send, particularly a middle schooler, you can send them into the other room to go find something, and then, you know, 20 minutes later, your kid's not showing up, and you're like, where'd they go? And they're just wandering around the living room trying to find something, and they don't even remember what they're looking for because their brains are changing. And we often think about puberty as when the body changes, but actually a year or two before that, their brain starts to change as well. And so you need to keep that in mind, especially if you've got kindergarten students or you've got middle school students. You know, sometimes you have good days and bad days, and sometimes their minds are just not clicking like they need to. Don't panic, don't get angry, don't get upset with them if they're not grasping something. And just move on, and you know, it can even be certain subjects that don't click that day, and other subjects do. So, you know, just move on to something else and come back to it, and just understand that those changes are happening at the same time.
Okay, now y'all homeschool, but the people we're talking about don't teach their kids, and their kids know that, Matt. They know mom and dad is not a teacher. And you know kids now, they know a fake when they see a fake. And when you're trying to fake being a teacher, and I mean that in the best light, y'all, because we're all struggling through this. But you know this is true, Matt. So how do you deal with that?
Well, I would say, be who you are. I think so easily when you change into this new role of homeschooling, this is new for so many people. Just be who you are, relax. Your kids know who you are, and they do spot a fake. And if you try to be somebody you're not, it's really going to mess them up. And so, not permanently or anything, but you can build a resistance up because, we don't like fake people. We don't like people that aren't who they really are. And, I think that the way you can come across as fake is in a lot of different ways. That, right now, there's so many people that are doing homeschool for the first time now to finish this year out, and they're going online on Pinterest and on all these different groups, and they're setting up this nice homeschool area in their house. And I think, part of the pressure parents can feel is we get on social media and we see how this other parent is doing things, and they've set this thing up nicely, and you can feel this need to be like them, and that may not be who you are. And so you are only going to be yourself. You can't be somebody else. You can be you, and that's who you are, and that's who you need to be. So I would just say, don't try to be the teacher. Don't try to get in. In the sense of, trying to get into some kind of different personality, some kind of different voice. Just be who you are, and just have fun with it. Have fun with your kids, and relax. Don't overdo it, and just be real with them.
I've heard Jessie say to me before, I'd say something about what did y'all do today in school, and she'll say, James, I learned so much today from the kids. Do you find this true? Absolutely,
and learning with the kids. We're going back through different phases. Every year we cover different periods of history, and we're going back through things, and I'm learning things I never learned in school. We're learning things in science this year that just blows my mind. And I know just the last week, we had placed our order for next year's curriculum, and we got the box in, and my wife and I, it was like Christmas Day. We were opening the box and looking at all the books. We're going to be covering American history, and it was just so fun to look at what we're going to be able to learn along with the kids. So, don't try to act like you know everything. Don't try to act like you're the expert on everything, but be willing to learn with your kids and have fun with it.
Okay, we're going to take another break. We'll come back and wrap things up. Stay with us.
Lawrence County's leader in hometown banking is Farmers State Bank. From our customer service professionals to our mortgage specialist or any of our professional lenders, we're committed to making banking as easy as FSB. Farmers State Bank, with locations in Dublin and Cadwell, member FDIC, and an equal housing lender. Stop by today and find out why we make banking as easy as FSB.
I'm Matt Lake, and I want to be your next Lawrence County Tax Commissioner. I want to bring business solutions to government problems. I've got over 20 years of business experience here in Lawrence County. I've also got businesses in Bullitt County. And through my years of running these businesses, we've learned how to implement systems, how to bring things up to par, how to make things efficient, how to keep up with technology. And I know that we can use this experience that I've gained so that we can serve the citizens of Lawrence County in a more economically friendly way and ultimately save some money for all the taxpayers in Lawrence County. I don't believe we should settle for the status quo. The citizens of Lawrence County deserve better. Elect me, Matt Lake, your next tax commissioner here in Lawrence County. I'm Matt Lake, and I approve this message.
Sentra, Titan, Altima, Rogue. Dublin Nissan is the place for your winning deal. This Rogue is up to $4,500 off MSRP.
Come to Dublin Nissan and get more car for your money.
And more money for your car.
This Altima is up to $9,400 off MSRP.
A great deal doesn't take luck, just a trip to Dublin Nissan. Call, click, or come see us.
Dublin Nissan, the only dealer you will ever need.
Where's my green jacket?
Are you ready for something different? OFTC offers educational training that works. Education that's fast, affordable, with hands-on experience. From caring instructors invested in your success to a supportive community, OFTC is your path to a career opportunity. And most OFTC students graduate debt-free thanks to the Hope Career Grant, which offers free tuition in over 72 programs of study. Think differently about college and make a change. Choose OFTC. OFTC is an equal opportunity institution.
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to wrap things up. We've been giving you some homeschool tips. If you're just joining us, I have with me Matt Haywood, and they homeschool their 7 children, and they have a lot of experience. A lot of it's trial and error, as you've heard during the show, but we'll be playing this show again, or go on our YouTube channel at TV35 WDIG. You can watch it anytime, watch it with your husband and say, see there, honey? That's what he said. That's what we need to do. So at least give you a little evidence there. But Matt, any final thoughts?
Yeah, again, I would just say relax and have fun. This is going to be one of those years that I think is going to go down in history, in our memory bank. And if you have fun and you relax and you just enjoy this time and embrace it for what it is, I think this could be one of the best years of your kid's life. I mean, you think about this, what other generation do you know of in recent years that can say they had this experience where across the nation, people were in social isolation, but kids got to finish the year out homeschooling and enjoying this time period. And so if you make this fun and you relax and just enjoy this time with your kids, these are going to be those memories that you're going to remember for a long time.
Okay, before I let you go, I want to switch gears just a little bit. The church has seen quite a change over the last few weeks. We've had to cancel services. We've had to do things that a lot of people didn't want to do, but you got to look after the overall safety of the flock, and that's your job as a pastor. But did you ever think when you was in seminary or when you started pastoring that you'd ever see days like this? And how is Bethlehem adapting, and how is the church adapting as far as technology is concerned?
Well, no, they don't prepare you for this in seminary because, I don't think anybody foresaw this type of thing happening. But at the same time, and this is in God's providence and grace, many churches were already starting to try to utilize technology for members that were homesick or couldn't be there. And so, a lot of churches had already kind of gone to some live streaming and online formatting. But what I have seen, and I've seen this in the church field, I've seen this in the medical field, is people that are just putting their brains together and coming up with new ways of doing the same thing. And so we're adapting. And so there are a lot of groups and resources out there. Just this past week alone, I saw probably 5 different groups that were out there, and I know there were more than that were putting out information on how to get your church up and live streaming. I've seen churches that have reached out and helped other churches that have try to help them get their live streaming set up. One of the challenges for churches is it's one thing to live stream your service, but then how do you do things like collecting the offering? How do you do things like Sunday school and meetings like that? And so, a lot of churches are going to online giving for the first time. I think that a lot of people who may have given traditional methods like cash and check, it can be hard for them to use those methods. But, we use those when we pay our power bill or our credit card bill or our doctor's bill. We already use those in so many areas of our life. And so this is a way you can continue to do that with your church. But we have started to utilize Zoom meetings, and we use Facebook a lot to keep people up to date. We have a text messaging thing that we do. It's called Remind, or the Remind app, and so we'll send out alerts to our members who sign up by text message so they can know what's going on. A lot of pastors are putting out video updates throughout the week to keep people in touch. You see churches doing drive-in services. There's just a lot of different ways and creativity, and there's a lot of groups out there. In fact, I have a webinar later today where we're going to be talking about how are different churches ministering to people during these difficult times. But it's difficult times, but it's also exciting times because we're able to use technology and look at new ways of trying to connect people, and in some ways, connect people even more so. I mean, traditionally you had a Sunday school class that might meet, or a small group that would meet once a week, but now you're able to meet all week long on Facebook and create groups and do different things. So there's just a lot of exciting technology and innovation that's happening to reach people today.
great information, and I'll have to admit to you, I was one of those struggling with not having church, but I have seen, Matt, this week more church services. I always watch Dr. Jeremiah and Charles Stanley before I go to church on Sunday morning, so I'm preached up when I get to church. So, but this week, to be able to watch all these churches, and I couldn't even begin to name, like Matt said, if you start scrolling across Facebook, the technology explosion, and I saw the trial and the error in some of my pastor friends, and those of you watching now know who I'm talking about. I won't call you out, but we've struggled with that technology, but we're getting there. So let's use it. God gave it to us in His sovereign power, so use what we have and use that technology, because you've seen television pastors for years, but now you see it on a local level. So continue to support your local church. And please, Matt touched on it, don't forget the ties to your church. Drop them off by the church if you don't like to do things online. Just take it by the church secretary. Slide it under the door. But get your tithes and offerings to the storehouse. Don't forget that during this time, because the church has to carry on through our technology, through our methods, and the staff has to carry on. Thank you so much for joining us today, right here on TV 35.
Over 70 years ago, my granddaddy, H. Dale Thompson, began serving Dublin and Lawrence County as a country lawyer who wanted to serve the people. My uncle, Scott Thompson, continues the practice of law and is a local prominent historian. I learned the value of service from my family. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Anyone can be great because anyone can serve." It would be my honor to serve you as Lawrence County Probate Court Judge.
Hello, I'm Darren Keene with Clements & Keene Insurance, and many of us do not like to talk about it, but no family needs to go without a life insurance program. Show your family how much you love them by preparing in advance with a life insurance program. Clements & Keene Insurance can help you with term insurance or permanent insurance. Regardless of your need, your age, or where you may be in life, life insurance is a critical part of financial planning for you and your family. Please give us a call at Clements & Keene Insurance, 272-8019.